everybody that we chatted last night, and I kind of wanted basically just to learn your story at the same time they did. So I don't know a lot. I know from watching Escaping Polygamy, but
Now,
um,
have you seen my episode yet?
do you know what? It's been so long that I watched it. I'm not sure. So I went on and I tried to look at pictures, and I
Okay.
feel like I might have I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait till I
Okay.
hear your story.
Yeah, no worries.
Were you on
I
season two?
honestly, yeah, season two episode, it's either 4 or 5.
I think it's four.
Yeah.
I think when I looked
Mm-hmm.
it up, it was episode four, I think.
Sweet.
But
Yeah.
I was fascinated by that show. So I hate to admit it, but I watched 19 Kids Accounting, like the Duggars, forever.
Nice.
And got into that. Like that stuff kind of fascinates me. And then of course I watched all the stuff on Warren Jeffs, and that kind of
Mhm.
fascinated me. And then I was into Escaping Polygamy. Like I've always it's fascinating to me how people get involved in that whole situation and then stay, and the people that are raised in that, like especially people like you who have left, and like how you ever come to that, like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's wild that it's still happening today. It's definitely easier to think like, oh, it's something that happened in the past, but no, it is still going on to this day, and it's
Yeah,
crazy. But
right. Yeah,
mhm.
yes, I watched them all. Dominique said she just watched them all.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Salem. Everybody's saying hi to you. Where can I watch this, Julie? I saw some of them on YouTube, but Eskel, do you know where else they can watch your episode?
Hulu has all of them, full episodes, the entire season, everything on Hulu.
Okay, there you go, guys. Hulu. Hi, comments. Hi, darling. Season two, episode five. I thought it was episode four.
It might be split into two because I know they have one episode that it's shared with Sharon and me, where it shows a little bit of her story than mine,
Okay.
and then I know it shows a little bit more on another episode as well. So they kind of
Okay.
split it up a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what it is then. What about for the people in the UK? Abby, probably YouTube would be my guess. I
Hmm.
would say. Starting rewatching last night. Oh, I love it, Laura. I might have to too, because I'm sure there's episodes that I missed as well, but I definitely want to see it. So, Eskel, welcome. Welcome to TikTok Live. I guess I'll put it that way. So, guys, this is his first live on TikTok. But you are a bit of a pro because I've been watching some of your videos on YouTube, and you've been there and done that before.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
getting more used to it for sure.
I know, right?
Mhm.
So do you want to just start out by kind of like giving us a summary of you and what's going on?
For sure, yeah. So, I left the Kingston polygamous group, which is just one of the breakoffs of the fundamentalist Mormon groups. And I think what is a little unique about my story is that I have three older sisters that actually left the group. Um, Pretty much each of them as soon as they turned 18. They kind of have their own different ways that it happened, but I got really lucky because when I turned 18, I kind of had them to turn to and to get a lot of help because it can be really tough. I know for me, I even kind of I left the group with still questioning a lot, like feeling like I might go back because I think the harder part about leaving is mentally not believing in it anymore, and growing up 18 years of being told that there's a God that wants you to live that specific way and that your eternal salvation is on the line, it's really hard to derail that. And so I was definitely fixated on it. And it's crazy because I knew from my personal experience seeing all of the abuse and the neglect within the group and not really believing that the prophet could be a true prophet of God because I've caught him in lies. I've seen a lot of the crazy things that his family has gone through. And so I didn't believe necessarily in the people all that much, but I still very much from my upbringing thought that their God was the correct God, right? And that
Right.
those principles they lived by were the correct way to live. And so that's one thing that actually took a lot longer for me to like discover my own beliefs and figure out for myself what I truly wanted to live by. And took a long time, but I was really grateful. I think step one was really getting out of that environment because my sister and I, we constantly say question everything. And one thing that they really push away and kind of like look down upon is questioning anyone with authority in the
Right.
group. So they really make it look bad if you ask questions to the prophet or the people above you, questioning anything about the beliefs. So it makes it really hard for you to find your own answers, discover what you truly believe in, or build what they call like a testimony at all if you don't get to question it and find out for yourself. So I think for me, that's the biggest thing. Step one was getting out of an environment and around people that encouraged me to question and learn for myself.
Right.
And so that was my first step. And I was so grateful to have my sisters. My sisters helped me a ton because literally my entire upbringing was working for my cousins or some company that the group had. So I never applied for a job, never had to fill out a resume. They just told me, you go work here. And so I did. I was an obedient, good little kid. And all I knew is what they taught me. I didn't understand finances. I didn't know how paychecks work. None of that. Had to figure that all out. And it was honestly like, this is one thing a lot of people kind of get surprised about is I was so excited to have my first real job. And it was just simply, I think my first real job was like at Plato's Closet, just, some retail store. Plato's Closet is like a used clothing store. So just like,
Okay, okay.
yeah, just buying and
So,
selling clothes.
Eskel, before you go on, how much older were your sisters than you?
So they have them very close. So my oldest sister, she is 4 years older than me, and then it's just like 1 year after the other. So like the sister right above me is exactly a year and 1 month older than me, and the sister above that is a year above her, and so they're pretty close together.
And how, like, they all left as soon as they hit 18?
Just about, yeah. So my oldest sister, she actually ended up getting married in the group and going through a whole divorce when she left. But and after that, it pretty much was everyone after that was once they turned around 18, then they ended up leaving. So, because I
And
think
then,
that's when a lot of the pressure gets on you. Once you're 18, you're an actual adult. You're not legally binded to your parent anymore. So
yeah.
it's the best time you kind of can, I guess. But
So how many are in your family?
so that gets a little complicated because my dad has three wives, right? So I have three moms. If from all of them together, there's 32 kids, all from my dad. But my mom was wife number two, and she had 10 kids.
Oh,
So
God
10
love her.
directly from my mom.
Holy. So and you're the fourth of 10?
Yep, I'm the fourth.
And did all 10 of you guys leave?
Well, some of them are still very young. Like my mom was having babies. Like they try to have as many kids as they can. They basically don't stop until they can't anymore
Right.
for the
Yeah.
most part. So there's still a lot of young kids that are still in the group. So yeah, I still have family that are there. So
How many of your siblings have gotten out?
so my direct siblings, there's my three older sisters and me, and then I have about four half siblings that have also left.
Okay. So from the other two wives?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so you just talked about how you started to want to leave because you were questioning things. Were your sisters the same? Is that why they decided they wanted to go too?
Well, it's interesting though, because like my oldest sister, she didn't even think that she wanted to leave. And then she was having problems in her marriage, right? And he was
Yeah.
trying to get a second wife. And they had made this agreement when they got together, they would stay in the group, but wouldn't go seek after other wives and things like that. And he was breaking their agreement. So it was really hard for her. And then when she expressed with people that she wanted a divorce, she noticed how hard everyone was on her because divorce is not acceptable. Like
Yeah.
it's just not allowed. They don't condone it at all. So when she even just started expressing it and felt like she was being mistreated, when they just wouldn't even consider it, like completely disregarded her feelings, that was kind of her first realization of, okay, something's clearly wrong. So I think with each person, there's kind of different things that eventually push them to leave. But yeah, eventually all of us have ended up leaving so far.
And
So
how old was her husband at the time? Was he a lot older than
that,
her?
no, for hers actually. So because they kind of have like arranged marriages, but they do things so it doesn't quite look like arranged marriages. Sometimes they'll give you like two options. You can choose this person or that person. So she actually was not supposed to. And it's kind of like one of those things where sometimes people will have arranged marriages or be assigned to, like, they're supposed to marry this person. But if they like, you'll see in some of the Escaping Polygamy episodes, like Jessica's, for example, she ends up leaving and kind of like rebelling so that they will let her marry the person she actually wants to.
Right.
And so my sister's was kind of very similar to that. And she wasn't really like supposed to marry the person that she ended up with, but she really wanted to, and she fought it and was eventually able to. And so it was a little bit different,
Okay.
but yeah.
So now, to get into this situation, was your mom and your dad, were their parents involved in the cult as well, or were they the first ones?
Oh, so on my dad's side, it goes all the way up. My dad is he's one of the sons of the original like leaders, the prophet and everything.
Oh.
But my
Oh my
mom,
God.
what's interesting is my mom wasn't a part of it at all. She got married at 17 and was kind of like pulled into the whole community and everything. So
Married to your dad at 17?
yeah, as a second wife. So
And was she like an outsider who he brought in?
yeah, she was an outsider. Now, what's interesting though is because it's really funny to say because my dad's first wife was actually my mom's older sister. So he marries my mom's older sister, then he marries my mom, which is her younger sister, and then he goes and marries one of his own half sisters. So my dad is married to two sisters and then one of his half sisters. So they're all super close related. In fact, I've taken DNA tests with some of my half siblings and it can't tell us apart. Like it says we're all just siblings.
God.
We all have the exact same DNA. It's crazy.
Can you imagine you're marrying your sister's husband? Like,
Yep.
oh my God. Oh my God. So he met your mom. He brings her into the cult and she didn't question it. Like this wasn't her belief, but she just took it on.
She questioned it hardcore. And I think the fact that she was so young, what really confuses me is how her older sister got involved because my mom's older sister was a big influence on like telling her, because like she married into it, basically was the first one to experience living in the cult and is like almost coercing her little sister to come and join the family and telling her that it's great and all this stuff. I have no idea what convinced the older sister, but I think for my mom, the younger sister, it was the fact that her older sister was involved that kind of pulled her towards it.
Okay,
So,
that
but
makes sense.
she really questioned it. She was very confused, very unsure of everything, and she goes back and forth. She's a little bit bipolar, but she has times where she really regrets it and doesn't know what she got herself into, and then other times where she's like, God told me to do this. It was the right thing. So it's kind of tough. But
Oh my God. So your mom from 17 years old was in this, and when did she have her first baby?
very quickly. Like they try to get it as soon as they can. I think she was still 17 when she had the first baby. So
So she was
yeah.
really young when she had you too then, because it would have been like 4 years later or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Wouldn't
Just
think
5 years after she got married and she had me. So
And is your mom still there?
well, if you watch it, keep watching Escaping Polygamy because she has an episode where she does escape and runs away and can't handle it anymore. But then I think it's all the way in like season 3 or 4, it shows that she eventually went back. She went back to my dad, went back to the community. I personally feel like she got so used to the community that, of course, she doesn't like a lot of the things. She knows she's getting taken advantage of. But when she left, sometimes it can be hard to like figure out what you want out of life, how to balance this whole new life of yours. And with her having kids and having so much kind of on her plate, that I think she got really nervous and scared and ended up going back.
And she's still there now?
Yep.
Do you have any contact with her?
Yeah. So my mom's, I would call her, do you know what a Jack Mormon is?
No.
Okay, so a Jack Mormon, it's basically where you still go to the church and you're still like considered an LDS member, but you don't necessarily believe in it 100%, That's what I kind of think of my mom, because we would say breaks the rules, you know. She talks to a lot of us outsiders when they're not supposed to, and so
Okay.
she still lets us have a little more contact with the family.
Do
But
you talk to your dad?
sometimes it's a lot more rare, and with my dad, it's funny because my dad is more of like he'll rarely on occasion talk to me, but it's almost always in secret, you know. It's like nobody can know we're talking, nobody
Right.
knows can know that I'm being a rebel, you know. And
Especially if he's like, a descendant from, the prophet. So that's got to be a big deal.
Yeah, well, he tries to, but it's interesting because there's such a hierarchy, right? So there's like this constant battle of like who has more authority in the church, who's like more righteous than other people. So I think it's that he's trying to protect his reputation. He's trying to like keep his position in the church, I guess. But every conversation I have with him, I guarantee you, 90% of the time, it's something he's upset at me about or something I need to do better or something, you know. It's like my whole life. Growing up, you know, I'd only see him once every 3 days, and I almost never got to have one-on-one conversations with him. But
Oh, did you get a phone call? I think you
I was
have.
in
Oh,
trouble.
there. No, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, I had to
Did you get a
swipe the
phone
phone
call?
call off.
I
Yeah.
think you have.
In trouble.
There. Oh, now
Mhm.
we're
No,
echoing.
you're back. You're back.
Sweet.
I had to swipe the phone call off.
I think you
Uh-oh.
have.
It's
You
like
might have to
we.
drop down and then come back in. Do you know how to drop down?
Okay. Let me try jumping off real
Okay.
quick.
Drop that and then come back. That was not good. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. We're just talking with Eskel. He was on Escaping Polygamy, and he's basically telling us his life story about kind of what went on. Okay, he's back in. Let's see if that worked. Aw, thanks, Penguin.
I don't know what happened.
We're good. It messes up sometimes when usually dropping out and coming back fixes it. Thanks, back. So let's go back to the beginning. So when you were little, can you tell us like what a day in your life was like?
Okay, yeah. So I think this really needs some explaining on a little bit of the differences between the groups because a
Yeah.
lot of people think of the traditional FLDS, like Warren Jeff's community
Yes.
people. They're a lot more like old fashioned, you know. They live on compounds. They almost live like an old Western lifestyle, you know.
Yeah.
They have their own farms where they grow all their own stuff. The Kingston polygamous group is a break off from that, you know. So like they have a lot of the similar values and beliefs, but I feel like the Kingstons are trying to more integrate themselves into society and look more normal and acceptable and things like that.
Okay.
So they wear, I guess, what you would call more normal clothing. They still have a pretty strict view of what's like virtuous and morally good to wear and stuff like that. But they're not strict about you have to make your own clothes and you know create all your own
Right.
stuff.
Do the women
So
have to wear dresses?
not in particular, no.
Okay.
It's kind of like a modesty thing when you go to church and certain activities where it's very much encouraged for the women to wear dresses. But it's
Okay.
not like Warren Jeff's group where it's like the women always wear dresses and they have to go all the way down to their
Yes.
wrists and all the way to their ankles. Whereas the Kingstons are a little bit more relaxed on that, but they still, it's funny because it's almost like a little bit more of an unspoken rule. There's not super specifics, but they still, you know, they're always competing for who's the most righteous and who's gonna be dressed
Right.
the best and stuff like that. So they still have a lot of that. But so for my growing up, it was what I think was a little unique is that as young as just like 13, 14 years old, I started going to one of my uncle's either like workshops or warehouses or whatever they had, and I would just be put to work. Basically, a lot of my downtime was just going and trying to make use of it with some of the companies that they have. And I think that's where the idea of they very much seem like a business mindset. They're always trying to profit. They're always trying to put people to work. They have given countless talks like over at church, like speeches about how you always need to make more money than you spend. Like that's the biggest thing because you have to build the kingdom of God. You have to save every penny and give it all to the leader. And so
Save
that's
it
something
all
to
and give it to
focus
me.
on. Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think just a lot of growth, like working as a kid. I don't feel like I got to have as much of a childhood, but on the contrary side, I did have a lot of siblings. So I do remember oftentimes, goofing off, going and playing, even when I was supposed to be at work, there's so many kids to keep track of that oftentimes I could just like run around and just do random things and get away
Yeah.
with it. But then it was always I would be in trouble. So it was a little bit
Did you guys go
hard.
to like a regular school or were you homeschooled?
It's almost half and half. So I was pretty much from elementary school to high school, a good 50% of it I was homeschooled for, and then 50% of it was kind of like between going to charter schools, public schools, and then the Kingston Polygamist group has their own school for the younger kids
Oh.
anyway. So I did go to that one for a little while as well. So
And did you
just
have
kind
to
of
go
variety.
to, did you call it church?
Kind of like a Sunday school, I
Sunday
guess.
school? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have like a church though that you had to go to like daily or was it just on Sundays?
Well, church was mostly on Sundays and Saturdays, but of course they would always have like if there was like a more important meeting or something, it could be on any day of the week. But mostly Sundays, I would say, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. So
Hmm.
now throughout the first 18 years, like when did you start realizing like this isn't a normal lifestyle, this isn't what I want to live and start thinking about getting out? Like how old would you have been?
Oh man, I think it very first started when I was 12. Because up till I was 12, I think 11 or 12 was when my very first experience ever going to a charter school. They first put me in a charter school before I went to a public school, and
And
I
what's a
remember I
charter
made my
school?
huh?
What's a charter school?
So it's kind of like half and half. It's not fully public, but it's funded by like the neighborhoods, but also partially by the state. So it's
Okay.
like so they still have uniforms and stuff, and just more strict rules than just a public school, I guess you could say. And
And
you
this,
have to,
sorry, this is all in Utah, right?
yeah, yeah. I've
Somebody was
lived
just
in Utah
asking.
pretty much my whole life, so.
Okay. Sorry, again, carry on. So you went to the charter school.
Yeah, so my first time ever going to the charter school, I was either 11 or 12, and it was when I made my first black friend. And I remember in my head, I was like, it was no big deal. He was my same age, like he was so fun. I really enjoyed being around him. And then the moment my parents found out, it was like crazy. Like they acted so strange. I couldn't invite him over. Like I knew something was really weird about it. So
So
that's when I very first started realizing something was off.
is it mainly white people then in the cult?
Oh, it's only white people. Like,
Okay, I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
they're
Okay.
extremely racist, and it's funny because they always say we're not racist. We just know that they can't go to like heaven or something. So
Oh,
it's like,
oh, that
yeah,
okay.
something like that. But
Justifying it.
mhm,
That's lovely.
yep, it's
So
kind
when
of
you were in the
funny.
charter school and you had met your first friend, that you were kind of like, okay, this isn't right. And then what was the next things that made you start doubting?
Well, I think that was when I remember just being frustrated when I would ask them questions and they wouldn't really explain it. They would just be like, "Oh, you just can't do that." And I was so young at the time that I kind of brushed it off, but just was like that was always in the back of my mind. And then just in the future, even when I would just have, I noticed that they were a little bit more lenient when I would have white friends, right? But they were still very weird about me inviting them over because they would always tell me I would have to lie, right? I couldn't be like, oh, my dad's at my other mom's house, right? So I'd be like, my
Oh,
dad's on a business trip or he's at work or, make up all these lies. And I'm sure they would catch on to it and I didn't know what to say. They would just pretend like, okay, like it wasn't a big deal. But
so did you live in like a normal neighborhood or did the Kingston group, are you all in one like subdivision area or like what, how was that?
It is more integrated, but they do try to stick close to each other. So we like lived in like what could be considered a normal neighborhood, but there was like 10 or 12 other members that had homes in that neighborhood, right? So
Okay.
like there's a lot around there, but it still just looks somewhat like a normal neighborhood. So.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And then, so what was your next step? Like, what did you do? How did you get out?
Yeah, so I remember when for my first oldest sister ended up leaving, and that was when I was like, wow, it's actually that's an option. Like
Yeah.
you can leave and run away because I had always been told like if you leave, then you're gonna be damned to hell and you're gonna be cursed. You're gonna end up just dying on the street basically. So I was always like, I never like all the way up until probably 16, 17, I never thought I could leave. I thought that I had to be righteous enough that it would work, that I could be in this community, that I could do everything God wanted me to do. But then finally seeing my oldest sister leave and still staying in contact with her. I remember my dad said, "Don't ever talk to her. She left. She's no longer a part of this family. Like she's basically damned to hell." And then I snuck out of the house and I was like, I need to find out for myself. Like, is she really a witch now? Like, is this for real? And what's crazy is I believed what my dad was telling me. It
Well, of
sounds
course
like
you would have.
absurd, but yeah, I wanted to find out for myself so bad. So I snuck out at night, went and met up with my sister and saw that she was doing fine. She had like gotten a job at the mall and like gotten her own apartment and like, doing all her own little things. And I was like, wow, you're really doing this. This is awesome. you know?
That's crazy.
So.
But how did she get out, Eskel? Did she have someone on the outside to help her, or did she just literally go and apply for jobs? Like, what did she do?
I think my older sisters had it the hardest because
Oh yeah.
there wasn't a lot of people to help them. We had some distant aunts and uncles that like we kind of sort of knew, but not very much. I do know that they reached out to them and got some advice on like what places they think they should apply to and what how to get an apartment even. So
Yeah.
they did kind of get some help with that. But no, they had it the hardest because when I left, I literally went and lived with my sisters for a while till I got on my feet. But for
Right.
them, they really just had to figure it out. And I am sure like they even had to like stay in their cars for a while and like just figure it all out. So it was really tough.
That's so scary. And then, so the next sister that left, what did she leave the next year?
So actually, the first two left only a few months apart because I
Wow.
think there was a lot of tension because my oldest sister had gotten married, and then there were lots of guys trying to marry my next sister in line. And there was a lot of tension because the person she was supposed to marry was her first cousin. And so she was like really against it. She did not want to marry someone so closely related to her. And the guy was just weird too. Like she didn't like him, but she
Oh
could tell they were pushing really hard for her to be marrying this person. And so there was just a lot of tension. And she also wanted to marry someone else as well. She had crushes. She had someone that she really liked. And I think just with all the tension at the same time, when my older sister left, then that kind of gave my next sister an escape a little bit or a way to get away and go and be with my sister. And so they left pretty close to the same time, and they did help each other a lot and kind of like try to figure it out together and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah.
And then your third sister left?
Yeah, and so for my third sister, it was about a year later because she was quite a bit younger, and she didn't end up leaving till about a month or two after she turned 18, and
Okay.
then she ended up leaving. So.
And then how much longer after that did you leave? The next year?
So I literally left. It was 2 days after my 18th birthday because when I was 17, I had seen my older sisters leave, and I was talking to them and kind of making arrangements to leave. I was literally like, I would take money and shove it under my bed to try and hide it and save it for when I knew I was gonna need
So
it when
you
I
knew
ran
you were
away.
doing it.
Yeah. So I had more time to like prepare and get myself ready for it. So yeah, I left 2 days after my 18th birthday and just got out of there as quickly as I could.
So did you have a plan? Like, were you talking to your sisters and you were like, "This is what we're gonna do. Meet me here. This is what's happening."
Yeah, that's actually why I was able to get it. My real actual escape on escaping polygamy was it was almost extra stressful because I was like preparing and getting ready for it, but then when they were like my sisters knew I was leaving, so when escaping polygamy talked to them and was like, "Hey, do you think we can film it while he's doing it?" They were like, "Well, yeah, he's for sure leaving, so I'm sure he'd be fine with it." And I told them that it would be fine, but I had no idea how much more stress that would add. Because it's hard enough secretly packing my bags and trying to be quiet at night, getting things ready. But then when all these cameras are watching you, getting all your stuff, and you literally have like
Yes.
1 hour to get everything out of the house, it was crazy.
That's nuts.
But
Were you at a gas station at one point?
yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Okay,
I went
I
to a
do
gas
remember the
station.
episode. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
totally do. I totally do. That's
Yep.
insane. So, did you have to let the camera crew in? And was your mom and dad away? Like, were they out?
Yeah. So the only time I could guarantee and know that no one was going to be home was during church Sunday service, right? So
Right.
I went with my family to church, and then as soon as I dropped them off and they went to the classes, I pretended to go to Sunday school class and I went and drove home as fast as I could. I started throwing all my stuff into boxes, and that's when the camera crew met me at the house. I let them inside and like they're just filming me put all my stuff in my bags and getting everything out of there. It was super stressful for
You're
sure.
like panicking, sweating, and these guys are like, "Hey, we got it all on tape."
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh,
It was wild.
Eskel.
But
That's insane. So, when you left, you had like a little bit of money and you had your sisters to support you.
yep,
So
they
what
were a huge help.
what would happen if you had have gotten caught? Like if your family members had to come home, what would have happened?
Oh man. So for my situation it would have been extra bad because of the camera crew there. Because I'm thinking about like my original plan, I never thought there was going to be it was going to be documented. So I was trying to do it in a way that if someone did catch me, I could say something, like, "Oh, I'm just going to put these into storage like these boxes are just extra stuff that I don't need," kind of, or like, I could kind of
Yeah,
get like say something or have some excuse. But with the camera being crew being there, that's why it was so stressful, and that's why I had to do it during a Sunday service to have the highest chance of no one noticing it,
right.
because that would have been really bad. They would have instantly knew exactly what I was doing, and there's no going back. Like there was not a single time I talked to any like dedicated members and told them that like, "Oh, I'm preparing to leave." I talked to my sisters that were already out, of course,
Yeah,
but when you openly discuss that with people in the group, then there's no going back. You're already considered like an apostate, someone that just, is not a dedicated member, that can't be trusted. So literally I had to fake it all the way up into that moment. So if they would have seen me doing that, it would have been really hard. Like there's basically nothing I could have done. So it would have
yeah.
been really, really
And
scary for
your none
sure.
of your sisters got caught when they left? Like they were able to flee the same way?
So my sister Amanda, it's kind of unique. I was like, it's tough because I was kind of there. I was there during the fight that happened, but hers was interesting because she was a lot more like, how do I say it, open about it. Like for me, I was just a good dedicated member. No one knew that I was preparing to leave. But with her, she was like, "I don't like it here." She
Yeah.
openly said like, "I don't want to have to share my husband," and would openly share all of her thoughts and things about this, that eventually there was just a lot of tension and fights all the time. And she actually ended up getting in this huge fight with my parents where they were just like, "Fine, if you're not going to, follow our rules, you can't live in our house." So she essentially got kicked out, and they were like throwing her stuff out on the porch. She had to just throw it into garbage bags, and it's crazy because I only saw it when they were telling her to leave and yelling at her, but then she tells her story about how she had to grab all of her stuff, walk around the neighborhood just knocking on doors, asking to use people's phones, eventually got a hold of someone that would give her a ride, and like she had it the hardest for sure. It was crazy.
And which
But
sister is Amanda? Was she the oldest?
no, she's the second oldest.
Okay, okay. Because Amanda was on the show with you, wasn't she?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God. So where did you go? You went to whose house? Amanda's?
So I first went to Cammie's, my oldest sister, because she had been out the longest. She had an extra, like, not really an extra room, but she had an extra part of her apartment that I could put my stuff in and stay in and stuff.
Okay.
So that was the first place I went to.
And then what did you do once you got there? You immediately just started applying for jobs?
Yeah, that was the first thing they said because they were like, on the outside you need money. Like you can't just go to the office and be like, charge this to this or whatever.
Right.
So they immediately were like, what kind of a job do you want? And they made it fun for me though because, they had gone through the experience and it's such a cool thing when you come from such a like controlling environment like that, being told that it's up to you, you can work wherever you want, like you
Like,
get to choose and like yeah, satisfy your creative mind. That was the coolest thing. I remember just like thinking of all the fun places that I wanted to work at and just going and applying to them. And I loved it. It was really
that's
cool.
crazy. Because you were done like school at this point, right?
Well, I was done with high school. Yeah.
Did you get like a normal like certificate from your homeschooling kind of
Like a
background?
like a GH, what's it called? A GHD or
GED.
something? GED.
GED.
Yeah, yeah. There you
Okay.
go. So I did get that
Okay.
because it was homeschooled high school. So yeah, it was a little different. I don't think I learned a lot. When I eventually finally got into community college, I remember it being so difficult. I was like, I didn't learn any of this in my homeschooled high school.
Yeah.
So I had to start all over for sure.
Now,
But
did you have something like I know on the Duggars they use like the wisdom books that the IBLP had for them? Did you have like a special curriculum for homeschooling or how did that work?
well, not for like elementary and junior high, but for the high school, they have one of these online schooling systems that's called Penn Foster. And all it is they ship you like it felt like 1,000 books, just a bunch of books for
Uh,
all of the classes and all of the grades of high school. And you're essentially just read through them and take tests and then you graduate. And I literally did it all in a year and like a half. So I
I
just went through all
bet.
the books, took all the tests, finished all of high school in a year and a half, and was done. So, and
Oh my
working
God.
the entire time. I worked a full-time job the entire time I was doing 4 years of high school in one year.
Oh my
So,
God. Eskel, that's crazy.
it
Was
was
that when you
wild.
got out? Did you do that or when you were still at home?
No, that was when I was still in the group. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
Mhm.
wild.
Yeah.
So when you got out, you got your first job, and then did you go to community college, did you say?
Yep. Then I went to community college and I like my schooling system has been taken a long time. I'm still going to the University of Utah now. I finally have my associates and I'm working on my bachelor's and it's taken me a long time, but I'm still going. So I'm
Good
still
for
getting there.
you. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, good for you. Everybody in here is just loving you so much. They're all like, you're so
Aw.
strong for leaving. So, will you tell us kind of like, give us a rundown of what exactly the Kingston group is? Like, I know
Mhm.
like a little bit about the Warren Jeff kind of that
Mhm.
whole side of it, but like, what were your main rules and stuff that you had to follow?
Okay, yeah. So all of them originate from Joseph Smith, the mainstream LDS church, and they believe in all of the same prophets, the same doctrine from Joseph Smith all the way down to Wilford Woodruff. Wilford Woodruff was the prophet that said, "We no longer believe in polygamy. Like that's no longer a Mormon doctrine, right?" So then that's when the Warren Jeffs FLDS group started. That's when the Kingston Polygamist group started,
And they
and
all
they
just
they
broke off.
yeah, they all just kind of started and created their own prophet, their own new revelation, but still based it all off of the same doctrine, essentially. But it's
Okay.
funny though, because they all read the Book of Mormon, they all claim to read the Bible, and then they read the Doctrine and Covenants up until section like 160 or something. After Wilford Woodruff, then they're like, this isn't prophecy anymore. So they kind of cut it
Oh
off there.
my God.
But everything else, they essentially believe in the same, but they're still so different. Like Warren Jeff's group, they would never marry their half siblings. But in the Kingston Polygamist group, they're like, you can marry your half siblings, that's fine, you know. So they still have a lot of
In
differences
fact,
for
here's your
sure.
first cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's
So there's still
crazy.
quite a bit of differences, but very similar. A lot of the similar books that they're reading, similar doctrine, but they I guess all interpret it in their own way. And the biggest difference, of course, is the prophet and authority. They all say our prophet's the real one, yours is a false prophet, and they say the
Okay.
exact same to the other person. So
So
yeah.
all the groups that separated like got their own prophet in their own group?
Yep, exactly. Uh-huh.
But the prophet's supposed to be sent from God, is he not?
Exactly, yeah. And they all say that Wilford Woodruff, like it went the authority and God's power went from Wilford Woodruff to their prophet, and they're all saying it went from him to their prophet. And so it's like it can't be that way.
Yeah, right. You're
That's
like,
not possible,
something's
but
fishy here.
yeah.
And then, so wait, before you left when you were 18, was there somebody that you were probably going to have to marry? Like, had that already started?
So I think it takes longer for the guys because my sisters all had people that it's called going forward on them, when it's one of those few options that you get to choose from. And
Okay.
essentially what my dad was doing for me is I think they wait a little longer for the guys, but he still was telling me that I need to start going forward. And he was almost indicating like, my dad never said this in particular, but a lot of my friends would say, you just need to go forward on as many girls as you can. Then there's a good chance you're going to get a few of them. And so it's almost like this game of just like, see who you can marry, see how many people you can get or something. Um, but it's quite the process because you have to start with supposedly having direction, which is a dream from God, and then you go to your parents, you go to your dad anyway, because he's the one above you with the authority above you. You go to him and you say, I had this direction, this dream on this girl. I think I'm supposed to marry her. And then he would say, okay, well, if I receive any revelation, then I'll let you go talk to her parents. So who knows how long that'll take, but then eventually he'll let you go talk to their parents and like you talk to them about the whole dream, the revelation, whatever. And if they also have a dream or some revelation, then they'll say, okay, now you can go talk to the prophet, the leader of the whole group. And then you
Oh.
go to him and he has to have the final main say, like if this can happen or not. And that's where the whole blood test comes in, because he'll do blood tests if you're very close related and make sure like I guess it could work out, I suppose, or something like
Oh my
that.
gosh. So
So
that you don't have like damage, damage or cause damage to your your children coming or
yeah,
something
yeah.
because
So
you're
the,
too
the
close.
so the incest is not too crazy, I guess, or something. I don't
Oh
know
my
exactly,
God, Eskel, that's
but
crazy. So he
mhm.
does the blood test right there and then determines if you're.
Well, they used to do it in secret. They used to tell you that you're just doing a health checkup, and they would take your
Oh,
blood and do it because it's very contradicting. Because they're like, if God directs this marriage from God, He
right.
should know if the blood is good or not, right? But they have to take these blood tests, and so I don't know. It's really sketchy.
You probably wouldn't even realize who you're related to and who you're not if it's all these different connections
Yeah.
and
You
stuff.
well, I remember always thinking that I'm related to everybody. Like
Yeah.
literally everyone was my cousin in the group. Like we're all so close. So
Oh
yeah,
my
it's wild.
God.
In fact, if anyone hasn't seen it, my sister, she has a YouTube channel called Amanda Ray. She has a video called My Family Bush instead of My Family Tree. It's called My Family Bush because she makes all these connections on multiple ways that we're all related together. So
Oh
many different
my
ways that we're all
gosh.
related and all mixing the same DNA. So it's
Like
really
that's
crazy.
crazy. And didn't that happen? I think it was in the Warren Jeff situation too that they had to bring in like new blood because they were like having so much kind of incest kind of going on, but not
Yeah,
trying
that's a
not to or
big
whatever.
problem with a lot of these groups for sure.
Oh my God. So how many people would have been in the Kingston group that you were a member of?
So the full group is roughly around like 10 to 12,000 people in the group.
Okay.
So,
Oh my God.
mhm.
Yes,
And
guys,
I'm
Eskel has a
related to all
YouTube
of them.
channel as well if you want to go subscribe. He posts videos about his life and what's kind of gone on if you want to check that out too. And if
Yeah,
you
and like,
guys are interested, hit follow because we're going to meet again on Sunday.
cool.
So you can follow our accounts as well. Is this real? Yes, this is 100% real. This
I
is
know it
Eskel.
sounds crazy, but it's real.
Yeah, right. It is.
Mhm.
It's hard to wrap your mind around that people actually live this way. That they're okay because your dad has. Did you say three wives?
3 wives. Yep.
Is that the most common, like three wives, or would it be more, or like?
No, three's the most common because they get it from some scripture. There's a scripture that says something about, the three heavens and the power of three. Three is like a very powerful special
Okay.
number or something. So they would always say like if you have one wife, you can go to like the telestial kingdom. You have two wives, you can go to the terrestrial kingdom, but it takes three wives, three plural polygamous wives to make it all the way to the highest heaven of God or something like that.
So
So
you don't believe that at all?
no, 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 not at
And
all.
from like age 12, you already started doubting that?
Well, the heaven thing was one of the ones that stuck with me the longest. I didn't believe in the whole marriage thing, but like for a long time I was always like three heavens makes sense. I don't know why, but that's something that I did believe for a very long time, but not the whole wives thing because I remember at a very young age seeing my mom's fight like crazy, like
Your
as if they
moms?
didn't even like each other at all. And I
Oh
was like, how
no.
can this be? If heaven is supposed to be as it is on earth, I was like, there's something wrong with this for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Were they
Hmm.
jealous? Like, did they not, or just didn't get
Oh yeah.
along?
Well, first of all, they were already sisters. Siblings
Oh,
fight all the
right.
time. So they would go at it. Now that they're sharing a man as well, like
Oh
they would
my
go
God.
crazy. And then, my goodness, when he got his third wife, they were so mad. My mom didn't even go to the wedding for the third wife because she did not condone it. She did not want it to happen. She was so against it. But
Oh
of
my
course, she
God.
has no say, so he still married her. But yeah, it was crazy.
And so how many years? So he married your aunt. Did you call her your aunt or your mom, or like what did you call her?
No, we just called her either by her name or we were just called her mom. So, mhm.
That's got to be weird. Like your one of your moms is actually your aunt.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
so how long after did he take this third wife?
So, man, I should look into it. I don't remember exactly, but they're all pretty close because a lot of the kids are similar age. I know that he had um I think three or four kids with the first wife before he ever had a kid with my mom, the second wife.
Okay.
So a good at least 5 years with the first wife, 4 or 5, and then married my mom. And then my mom only had, I think, two kids before he got his third wife.
Okay. So you
So
were just you weren't born when he got the third wife.
no, I wasn't like there, yeah, I wasn't old enough to go to the wedding or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
What did your mom's parents think of two of their daughters marrying into polygamy?
my mom's parent. Oh, so that's kind of interesting because my mom grew up without a mom in her life. So she only had her dad. And what's interesting is I think the reason why he was so okay with it is because he actually had, I can't remember if it was his dad or his grandpa, but one of them did live polygamy in the LDS church. So he,
Oh.
he kind of already saw, one of his parents or grandparents live polygamy. And so I think, and with him being a guy, I didn't think that he didn't see it as such a bad thing. So
Okay.
like
So he
she
already had
does
it in
say
his.
though that he did not he basically told my mom that you have lots of other options, like you shouldn't just jump on this because this is the first person that ever proposed to my mom, and she never dated my dad, right? So keep in mind she goes on this drive with my dad and he says, I had a dream to marry you. And she's like, what? So he essentially proposed to her on the first
God.
drive they ever go on. And then my mom's like confused out of her mind. And it's her sister being like, yeah, you need to marry him. Like, this is a good thing. And her dad's just like, I don't know, man. Like, there's lots of other people out there. But like,
Oh,
he didn't say no,
Eskel.
but yeah, he tried to help her see that there were other options. But,
I was
mhm.
just thinking too. So if your dad was married to your aunt for like 4 or 5 years, your mom would have been like 12 when she met him.
Mhm. Yep.
And what's the age difference between your mom and dad?
There's an 8 year age difference.
Okay, that's not
So,
that bad. But to
yeah.
to to have a 12-year-old and then I
Yeah.
can't imagine like your sister's or your wife's
And
sister.
what made it worse too is so when he married into the family, he moved into that family's home and just lived in the basement. So like he saw my mom all the time because he lived in
Oh my
their
God, watched
basement.
her grow up
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
he
it's really
married
weird.
her. Oh,
Yep.
Eskel. The whole thing, it's so hard for us to wrap our mind around, but yet you lived
Mhm.
it. And I'm sure it's even hard for you now to kind
Oh
of
my gosh,
comprehend.
you want to hear something really crazy?
Yes.
If you think that is gross, this is something that is burned into my mind that even when I was in the group, I was like, how can they preach this as a good thing? They have this story, right, where one of the leaders is like this righteous, holy man, and he was at someone's house that was giving birth, right? Because they always have at home birth, and they think it's extra good if you have the leader there because he can protect you, so things work out. So he was there and giving, like, helping deliver this baby, and he told everyone and announced to everyone when this baby was born that this was going to be his wife one day. And so he really did. Years later, he ends up marrying this baby that he delivered
No.
himself. I was like, that is disgusting. Even in the group,
Oh.
I was like, that is so weird. I don't know what the hell they're thinking about. Like, how are they preaching that like it's a good thing? Like, oh my
Oh
gosh.
my
Yeah.
God. Do you know how old the baby would have been when he married?
They usually try to in that situation they do this thing that's betrothed, right? So that people know this girl's off the market. So I'm sure
Oh.
she was betrothed as young as like 9, 10 years old. But usually they'll wait till at least 15, 16 before they actually do a marriage that's like that.
Oh
But
my God.
I've seen some pretty young marriages. Nowadays, though, they'll only do super young marriages if they're both young. Like one of my best friends in the group, he was only 15 years old marrying a 14-year-old, and they were getting
Oh
married. And I was like,
no. They're
whoa. He
babies.
literally had to ask his mom to drive himself to the wedding. Like, how crazy is that? Like, that makes no
I didn't
sense.
even think of that. Did you guys have the like no liquor, no dancing, all those rules as well?
Well, some, but not no dancing. We were huge into dancing. We did swing dancing. A lot of the weekends we would put on
Did you?
dances. So,
Okay, well that's a lot different, right?
yeah,
Oh my
So, but
God.
no, like, no alcohol, no drugs, things like that. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. I I
mhm.
can't tell you like, and I know I'm fascinated by it, but and I saw some people saying in the comments too, it's like a whole other dimension. Like it's to wrap your mind around that, like people live this lifestyle. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so your prophet, I'm assuming your prophet's married.
Oh yeah, he has
And how
the
many?
well, we don't know the exact number because now they're like super hush hush about this stuff because they're getting in a lot of legal trouble. But the last we were able to officially count was 27 wives. He's got 27 wives, the leader does.
Because he's the prophet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my God. And everybody else, they wouldn't have that amount.
Well, a lot of his brothers. So there's the prophet and his seven brothers are kind of the top of the people. Like, I don't know how you call
Oh,
it, but the ones with the most authority, the most power, and
right.
almost all of them have like 8 or 9 wives, like quite a few wives. So,
Oh my
but of
God.
course the prophet has the most for sure. Yeah.
Is that like always the case if it's a prophet? Like they just have tons of wives?
Oh yeah, they literally have all these girls that are just hoping that they can be married to the
Oh
prophet,
my
you know,
God.
like it's crazy.
And
But
how many kids would he have?
so nobody even knows. Like, we counted over 300 though, but I don't think he even knows. Like,
Oh.
there are so many. It's crazy.
So he would be meeting people that are his children that he probably doesn't even know are his kids.
Oh yeah, in fact, there used to be, back when I was still there, you could line up after church and anyone could line up and go shake the hand of the prophet, right? But
Okay.
now they have this rule that only his kids are allowed to because that there's so many. So it's
Oh my
crazy.
God. He's like populated half of that cult. Like
Yep.
I wonder if any of his kids have left, do you know?
Oh yeah, lots of his kids have left. In fact, man, he's probably got the most kids that have left because he's got so many that he's just neglecting and never pays attention to,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of them do end up leaving.
And did your moms live in the same home or did they all have their own homes?
No, they all had their own homes. They would have tore each other apart if they had to share a home together, man.
So would your dad just go like house to house?
Yeah, that's why I say I would only see my dad every 3 days, if that. So,
Did he have
but
like a set schedule?
Kinda, it would get changed all the time, but yeah, he was supposed to keep it fair and like even it out, you know.
Do you
So
think he had a favorite?
I think so, but everyone says that I'm biased because I think it was my mom because I felt like I noticed him at her house a little more than it seemed like he was supposed to, and sometimes it just seemed like she got what she wanted a little bit more. But
Okay. Now, after she left Eskel and came back, do they accept her back in, or is she still an outcast?
well, because she went back to the spiritual marriage, went back to her husband, they kind of did because they almost don't care very much what the woman does so long as they tie back to the husband. You know, what's more important to them is the husband's the one that's taking them to heaven, right?
Right.
Supposedly. So the husband has to be righteous, the husband has to be good. They have to tie into the husband if they want to get to heaven. So a lot of people still don't fully accept her back, but the majority of them do somewhat because she's back with the husband. So supposedly things are better, I guess. I don't know, but
When your mom left, did she still have young children that were there that she just had to leave?
only one. So she took all the kids with her because when
Okay.
you're a plural wife, it's actually legally very easy because there's no ties to the dad because you're not legally married, right?
Right.
So
There
she
would be
was
no
able to
kids.
take all the kids and the dad couldn't really do anything about it. But there was one kid that really fought her and was like, I'm not leaving the kingdom of God. And so he stayed and ended up living with one of the other moms. But
And so is he back with her now that she's back?
Uh, well, now he's like married, like he's doing his
Oh,
own thing. He's
okay,
got a
cool.
kid already and stuff, so yeah.
How many years have you been out?
Um, I think this December it's gonna be year 7. So I'm on year
Oh,
6, almost
wow.
7. So
That's amazing. Like, congratulations.
thank
And
you.
I mean, you must feel extremely accomplished, even though you're still working towards things, just to have like gotten out.
Yeah, well, I get asked all the time. Even, people from the group will message me in secret with like secret names and they'll be like, "So do you regret leaving? What are your thoughts and stuff?" And I always tell them the same thing. Like, it is way harder than I thought it was going to be to leave, but so worth it. Like, I would never go back. I don't feel like I regret it at all. And it's like as much hard work and effort that I put into it, it's been worth all of that effort. So
Okay.
I love it.
Well, you know what? That sums it up right there. Like, if as long as you know the work that you put in is worth it and you're happy that you've gotten out. Do you ever have doubts? Do you ever think like I'm going to hell because I left or anything like that?
Oh, I have doubts all the time because, so what's unique about my story in particular, when I first left, it was ingrained in my head that religion was everything, right? You
Yeah.
have to be religious. So I ended up joining the mainstream LDS church for a while because I was like,
Oh.
I'm used to a lot of their beliefs. I still read the Book of Mormon like they do. So I clinged to them because I was like, I felt like a fish out of water. I was like, I have no structure to my life. I don't know
Yeah.
what to believe. Nothing. So I ended up joining that church, went on an LDS mission even, and then kind of like had the same thing happen to me. I was like, started questioning a lot of their beliefs, questioning their prophet, and I was like, a lot of the answers they give are just superficial. It's like it's
Yeah.
great. I still think mainstream LDS is a world better than fundamentalist Mormons.
Yeah.
But they still are a little bit like just believe. Just have hope. And I'm like, that's great, but there's no assurity in that. There's no guarantee. So now I finally come to terms that I'm agnostic. I love religion. I love learning. I love reading the Bible, but I cannot say I'm not going to lie anymore. I hated most of my life going up on stage saying, I know this is the church of God. I know this is true. When it's like, I don't know anything. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's just, you have to be okay with not always having the answer. And that's what I've accepted in myself now. So,
Okay. I
but,
love that. That's such a good way to put it, that you just have to be okay with not knowing. Because that's
mhm,
exactly what it is. Like, we don't know. So,
exactly.
oh
Yep.
my God. So now, are you close to your sisters still that got out? Thank you,
Oh yeah,
guys.
yeah. All of my family that are out, like my half siblings, my sisters, like we're very close. Like we talk all the time. Like we visit each other a lot. Like they help a ton. So yeah,
Okay.
we're very close for sure.
Are they
Mhm.
married? Thanks, Adeline. Are they married and with children and stuff now?
No, actually. My sister Amanda did get married, and she has the whole story on her YouTube about her marriage and how she's gone through a divorce now and everything.
Okay.
But like right now, as of this moment, then we're there. Yeah, none of them are married. So
Okay. And you're not married. You have a girlfriend.
nope. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a whole nother like we could do a whole video on how crazy dating is when you leave a cult, man. It gets
like, how do
wild.
you even meet people? Like, hey, used to be in
Well,
a
well,
cult, so this is going to be kind of new for me.
I have this rule that by the second date I have to tell them about it because I get this sense of like almost feel like I'm hiding something from them if I don't tell them because I
Yeah.
also have this paranoia that once they find out they're gonna run as far away from me as possible, which isn't the case. Like girls are very understanding, like they know what it's like to leave, and that I'm not. I don't believe that still, but for some reason in my head, I'm like always afraid that they think I'm gonna try and get multiple girlfriends or all
Yeah.
this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So
He's okay with cheating. He's going to have 5 wives, so I'm out. Aw.
uh,
Eskel, everybody was asking what your sister's YouTube channel is again.
it's just so hers is Amanda Ray, just her name, and then mine is Eskel's Cult Experience. I think the same name as my TikTok. So
And if they go to your TikTok, your YouTube's on there. Elizabeth.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm not sure if I linked it correctly, but I tried to make sure the link was on there. So
Okay. And your sister, is it Amanda? And how do you spell Ray? Rae?
Rae is the way
Okay.
she does it. Yep, just
Okay.
Amanda Ray. Yeah.
And somebody just said, I'm curious what the Kingstons believe about the FLDS.
Oh, that's a good question because they're very controversial. I don't know if you've heard of Calvin. I did an interview with Calvin that's from, the FLDS community, and it
Yeah.
was so funny to hear almost like near word for word how we would describe the FLDS, they would describe us. And they would talk about how, because they're related. They're brothers, they're cousins. So they would be like, "Oh, those are our lost, confused cousins. Like they used to be a part of the fold and now they've gone and like followed Satan and they're doing their own thing." And then
Oh.
our church would say the same thing. Like the FLDS used to be one with us and now they're like falling away, they're getting lost, doing their own thing. It's so funny, but
And now that Warren Jeffs is still in jail right now, is he not?
yeah, he's sentenced to life in prison.
And
So
it doesn't, like, it's not affecting that whole side of it, or do you even know?
well, it's affecting a lot of the like dynamics and what's happening, but it's not affecting like the people. Like they still believe in him 100%. They still call him their prophet. They still like will do anything he tells them to. But now there's like this fight for who gets to talk to Warren because Warren's in jail and he's like
Yeah.
talking to some of his brothers and people saying tell the people to do this, tell the people to do that, and then whoever gets to talk to him gets to tell all the people, oh, he said this. So there's this power thing of like who gets to say what Warren is saying, who speaks for the prophet, right?
Oh
So
my
there's a
God.
lot of that going on, and it's really causing a struggle because he goes back and forth. Being in prison, I'm sure he like goes through a lot of depression, a lot of hard things. So he'll give extreme commandments for them and be like one, he was like, nobody can have kids, no more reproducing at all.
I
And so they
saw
all just had to
that.
stop for a while. Yeah.
He was
It was
jealous
crazy.
because he couldn't see his wives.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
That's
exactly.
terrible.
So a lot
Somebody
of
just,
crazy rules coming out for sure. But
so his son wants to take over. Somebody just said, "Hi,
mm-hmm.
Stove." Somebody just asked who Warren was. So Warren is Warren Jeffs. He's like the prophet for the FLDS. If that's what it is, right? The FLDS version
Yep.
of it,
Uh-huh.
of
Yeah,
the polygamist
exactly.
group. And Eskel escaped from the Kingston group.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He sure is. If anybody has any questions and they want to drop them in, Eskel, do you mind answering some questions?
For sure. Yeah, I'd be
Okay.
happy to.
Warren Jeff's daughter who escaped, Rachel, her book is really good. Leslie, I haven't seen that. Who will take over
Oh,
when Warren dies? Good question.
um, oh yeah, that's kind of what the power dynamic is right now. They were kind of trying to set up this whole like um chain of command, like who has the most authority and stuff. So I think there is something along those lines, but bottom line, Warren Jeffs chooses who's the next prophet. So essentially, he could say this person's in charge, and they all just have to believe him, you know. So they don't fully know necessarily, but they kind of know who's like the closest with Warren, who
Okay.
like talks to him the most, and that person probably has the most say right now. But that's why there's such a power dynamic because they just don't know.
Yeah.
So. Mhm.
Amy just asked, how scary was it escaping? Is it like on the show?
Oh man, it's definitely terrifying. For me, like I was scared. I was scared out of my mind, and I had my sisters right there beside me helping me. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't imagine when someone has to leave completely on their own. That would be 10 times scarier, so much harder. But I will say this, like as hard as it is, because when you're in the group, you go back and forth. Like, I want to leave. No, I need to stay. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
is wrong. No, God says it's the right thing or something, you know? So it's like it's really hard, but it made a world of a difference when I could just prepare myself. Just have some backup, something so that you have an escape route because if
Yeah.
you don't, you're 100% dependent on them and that's going to make it almost like the easiest route is just to stay, you know? So you got to create something or make some plans. Otherwise, it just gets harder and harder. Like the longer you're there, like if you get married, the more kids you have, make it feel like it's impossible to leave, you know?
Um, Somebody just said, and I can't find Tawny, said that her uncle escaped the Kingston group.
Ooh, what's their last name? I would probably know them.
Tawny, what's his
I'm probably
name?
related to them.
It's her name is Tawny Dodd. Yeah, you guys might be cousins.
Tawny Dodd Kingston. Let me
Tawny
see
Dodd
really
from the
quick.
Kingston group. Uh, oh, she
Hmm.
said Grundvig. Is that his name, Tawny?
Interesting. Huh.
Grundvig.
I
She
I
just
mean
wrote it.
maybe.
Can you see it in the comments?
Is it that Grunvig name?
Yeah.
Because that does not sound familiar to me, so that's interesting.
Oh, Nathan Grundvig, she said. That's the
Nathan
last name.
Grunvik. That's tough because I would definitely recognize the last name. Their sister married a Grunvik. I wonder if that could be a part of the AUB group because I would definitely recognize it if it was one of the Kingston last names or like there's certain names like the Johnsons, the Kingstons. There's a lot of the like Browns, a lot of the names that I know the majority of them from the Kingston group, but I have not heard of Grunvig though. So
Maybe it's a different one.
yeah.
Southern just said, who will be next in line for the Kingstons group? Probably one of the brothers. Is that how it would work?
No, actually, because
Oh.
the Kingstons take a very the olden days like kings and queens role. So it's gonna be one of the Paul's sons, one of his
Oh, like
kids.
a bloodline kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I wish, Ron, will the show ever come back?
So not with the same documentary, but there is so there's a crew, a film crew that is actually filming. They're already starting some of the filming for a new series, but they're still working on the name for it and they don't even know what it's going to be on. They're basically filming some of it and then they're going to try to sell it to either Netflix or Hulu or someone
Oh,
that would
wow.
want to fund it. So,
What are they
yeah.
filming right now?
So I don't know how much I can say,
Oh,
but
okay.
um, all I know is that there are quite a few of the ex-order members that have left that are trying to document a how do I say this like a huh I guess yeah, maybe I shouldn't say, but it just they're documenting someone that's recently left, and there's one really big point that they're focusing on is the some of the first gay people even in the group that have left. They're
Oh,
they're able to film some of that and have them share their stories too. So because that's really hard because that's something that's
oh.
shunned and like one of the worst things you can do in the group, and so their story is very intense, but.
Um,
Um,
Lucky Girl just asked, did Cody Brown come from the Kingstons?
No, Cody Brown came from the AUB, the Apostolic
Oh, okay.
Brethren.
Oh, somebody else just said that too.
Hmm. Yep. But Cody
Eskel
Brown thing,
Kingston.
his like all of his wives have left him now. Like I think when he went, like like their family was a real thing. Like when they were a part of the AUB and like were living polygamy. But I think once they started filming, a lot of it didn't seem like it was from the group anymore. I felt like they kind of separated themselves, did their own thing, and then it became more of just for popularity and for the show. And I think
Okay.
that's, that's why they all left and everything. And so I think it did start from a polygamous group, but then it turned into its own weird thing. So I've seen a lot of those episodes, and they didn't seem like a real polygamous family. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
So,
I mean, you were part of that. So,
yeah.
so Sassy Mama just said, who was the undercover person on y'all's show giving y'all info? And I love the y'all. Southern
Yeah.
Sweet Mama.
So
Yeah.
it's tough. We actually still can't say because they are still in the group to this day. And
Oh.
we've told them that they should leave, but they keep on saying that they feel like they can do more good from the inside than if they leave because right now they have access to a lot of the order's documents and a lot of their stuff. So they actually are helping quite a bit, but I fear that it's, at their own suffering, at their own cost of still having to stay there, having to be fake around all the people all this
Yeah.
time. But
Everybody's asking, will Cody get more wives? I don't know. If he's not a part of that and they're all leaving him.
Well, and what would be tough is like I don't think he's associated with the AUB anymore. And since he's so popular, if he tried to go back to the AUB, I think people wouldn't accept him very easily. Because
Yeah.
like that, even the Kingston group, they're very much of like once you've made up your mind to leave, you're the son of perdition. You're an apostate. Yeah, it's really hard to go back from that. So.
Oh my God. Somebody said Robin left him. I hadn't heard that. I think it's a rumor right now that she's leaving, but I'm not sure. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
most
know
of
for
my
sure.
information I get from YouTube videos. A lot of his wives that have left him, they do YouTube videos and talk about it and stuff. So,
Yeah. Is there any update to the scandal with Vanguard Academy? I don't know what that is.
oh, so it's this new school that the Kingstons set up, but it's weird because they're getting public funding because they set it up as if it's a public school, but it started out with only Kingston kids going to the school and only Kingston
Oh.
teachers, right? And so they were basically using public funds to have their own private cult school, right? So my sister actually got really involved with this and like told the news people and there was a whole video about it. But essentially what happened is they were forced to hire non-cult members to work in the school and to allow non-cult kids to go to the school. So
Oh.
so that did change, but now it's still the majority of them are kids and teachers from the group, but now they were forced to actually have other people involved with it as well.
Oh my
So,
God. To avoid like a legal issue.
yep, exactly. Because they were getting millions, millions of dollars from public funds to keep this school running, right? And they were just, having it only for all the people from the church. And so
Right.
they were being biased, and there was only white kids at the school. They didn't let a single black kid in the school. But now they finally are going by the actual system and letting people go to it. So
So is there black people in the school right now?
yeah, they have their first interracial kids going to it, and they have interracial teachers finally teaching at it. So
Oh my God. A lot of people must not like that.
well, a lot of the members don't, yeah, but they
Jeez.
they have to if it's a public school. So.
Somebody just asked, are these groups out recruiting members or is it mainly just people who are born in?
Well, they're recruiting women, any girls. I'm sure they
Oh,
would, but it's still like it's the most annoying thing. Like there's a fee to join. It's like a $5,000 fee to join per person. Like there was a family that joined, and it's super rare people join. It's near non-existent. More people leave every year than people that join. But there was a family that joined with like 10 kids, and he had to pay $5,000 per kid per person joining the
oh,
group,
I didn't
right?
even think of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So basically you're just handing over all your money to the
Well,
churches.
well, you're paying that, and then you're signing the 10% form, and then your consecration form. So think of this: you pay $5,000 per person, so you're giving them like 30, 40 grand, and then you are signing this 10% form that 10% of everything you own, all of your profit, all of your assets, all your money, 10% of it just goes to the church, like they can do whatever you want, and then you sign this consecration form that says 100% everything of yours you give the church permission to use to build the kingdom of God, right? So essentially, they can take anything, like any member, they can take whatever they want from them and use it. So, yeah, because they
That's
say they live
crazy.
consecration. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, everybody's like, holy cow. I know, seriously. And somebody just asked a question and I missed it, guys. Oh, somebody said, are there many people wanting their kids at the cult run school though?
Well, that's the thing. If, from what I can tell, a lot of the kids that are going to this school don't know about it. Like not a lot of people do research about like, oh, what school, because it's supposed to be just whatever school's the closest to you, that's where your kids go. And so it just is some of the kids that live close to the school going
Okay,
to
so it's
it.
just a normal school system kind of program. Like if you live close, you have to go to that school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Angie asks, what happens to those that get caught escaping?
Ooh, so that's where the term like son of perdition comes in, and it's like they oftentimes, so if they actually catch you like in the act, they will do anything and everything in their power to keep you there. Some extremists will even say like they'll, lock you in your room or like hold you against your will because they're saving your soul, right? So they'll go to pretty extreme lengths, but essentially what they try to do is they have you have a meeting with one of the leaders or one of the leaders' brothers telling you all the reasons why it's the kingdom of God, why you shouldn't want to leave. And then they'll oftentimes send you to what's almost like a compound. It's not as extreme as FLDS Warren Jeffs compound,
Okay.
but it's like essentially a farm or someplace really far away from civilization, away from all the people you know, and they have you live there amongst other members to try and help you be a better person, I guess. So,
Oh my
yeah.
God, Eskel. So you didn't get caught. Did you like jump in a cab or did like the film crew have a vehicle for you? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
they had a vehicle ready for me, and my sisters had one of their vehicles
And
ready
then
to
you met at
help
the
pack all
gas
my stuff.
station? Is that what it was?
Yeah, and then so actually, I don't know how well they depicted this in the video, but I packed all my stuff and leave the house, right? And then to make sure to throw off suspicions, I go alone back to church. And I go back to my Sunday school class where I was supposed to be the whole time, right? And I'm just talking to people, acting like nothing's going on. But
Oh my
my heart
God.
was pounding so fast. I was so nervous and just like going crazy. But I didn't want to raise any suspicions, right? So I was just there and I meet up with my family and we're all leaving. And I tell my mom, I'm like, hey, let's go to lunch or like let's do something. And she was a little bit sus, but like sometimes
Oh,
every once in a while we would just go somewhere to have fun. So I convinced her to go with all the kids, and that's where I broke the news to them. Like I told them that I was going to be leaving and that I had already gotten my stuff, and I even wrapped up little gifts for each of my siblings to give to all of
oh,
them to let them know that like I don't hate them, I'm not running away from them. I just believe something differently, and with the community we're in, they're not going to let me stay at home, so I just
oh
have
my
to do this for
God.
myself. But
What
yeah.
did your mom say?
My mom instantly started crying, man. She was like, "How could you do this?" Like, what sucks about my mom is that she has fully expressed that it is hard living there. That there's many days that she wants to leave herself, right?
Yeah.
But she's very used to, I think, with raising us as young kids. She would oftentimes like put some of the responsibility on us and be like, hey, if I'm sacrificing all this for God, then you kids have to be there to help me. You kids have to be there to support me and stuff. So she'd oftentimes try to put her burdens on us. And so she did that exact same thing when I was leaving. She
Oh my
she was
God.
very much like, how am I going to be able to handle everything if I'm here? And all of my kids, as soon as we're old enough to, start providing financially, because they really do. They depend on kids to start paying rent at a young age, to start providing for stuff. And so she was really upset about how a lot of her kids, once they can start having families in the group, creating more of a name for the Grant family, then we oftentimes just leave rather than creating that whatever, you know. And so she was really upset about that for sure. But
Tia says, I was so sad when your mom went back.
yep, it
Yeah.
was tough, man. After all that we went through too, it was a lot of work to get her and all the kids out of there, get everything moved, all that. It was
Did you
wild.
see her much after she had gotten out? Were you close, like
Yeah,
near where she
I
was?
lived there with them. Yeah, I lived in the house with them to try and just be there and help with anything and just to
Oh,
be a part of it all. And then it was creepy though because it was months, probably like it was almost a whole summer, right? And then randomly, just a random night, then we get a knock on the door and everyone's all huddling at the door and we see it's our dad. Our dad had
oh
came
my
and found the
God.
place and he, like everyone, nobody knows what to do. We're just like
You're
all
like
standing there
frozen.
awkwardly, and he
Nobody's
just comes
home.
in and he's like shaking all of our hands and saying hi to all of us. And we're just like, "Hi, Dad." Like,
Oh
this
my
is weird,
God.
but
Oh my God.
yeah.
So, and he was trying to convince her to come back at that point?
Yeah, they stayed up till like 3 in the morning just talking, and he like goes in a separate room with my mom, and they have this really long talk and all this stuff. Like,
Oh. And
yeah,
how long after that was it that she went back?
it was pretty quick. Only a couple of weeks after
Oh,
that she
was
ended up going
it?
back. So,
Oh God, that's so hard. Do you think she'll ever leave again?
To be honest, man, this might get her in trouble, but I don't care. I personally think that a big part of why she went back is because of all the kids, right? And feeling an obligation to raise them, and not it's one thing for her to be like, I'm gonna risk my salvation by leaving and creating my own life, but she also feels more of a burden kind of choosing the salvation of her kids. So I think once all of her kids become 18 or older, then I really think she'll leave for sure, but you never know.
And how old is your youngest sibling?
The youngest is 11, 11 or 12. So,
Oh, that's
mhm.
hard. That's so hard. And so are some of your siblings like hardcore in and never gonna leave and like
Oh
marrying and
yeah. Yep, like that one that even when my mom left and was taking all the kids, there was one that was like, "Nope, I'm not leaving. This is God's church. This is
oh
where I'm meant to
right.
be." And so he wouldn't leave, and he's actually married now. He's already got a kid. So,
Oh geez.
mhm.
Somebody said, did you find out how the father found you guys?
Well, not exactly. I heard his story. He claims that he like prayed about it and he like
Oh,
opened up Google Maps and was like looking at places and like figured out somehow like he had asked a ton of people obviously, and somehow he figured out at least what like state we were in and what city or something, but then he claims that he just somehow let the spirit guide him to us or something, but
oh my
but
God.
really I think someone
Somebody
just told
tattled.
him. Yeah.
Some
Hmm.
and you're being asked, do you know how many people have left?
In my family or what?
Um, I'm not sure if she means Ronnie, do
Because
you
if you're
mean in his family or in general? Let's do both. How many people in your family have left that you
so
know of?
my yeah, my family, then there's four from my mom's family, and then four from the first wife's family. And then the third wife, they're all still decently young, but there is a couple of them that are 18. And one of them actually left. And like I have a whole video on my YouTube channel about him leaving and him sharing kind of his experience, but he ended up going back already. So he had a different experience for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Do you know how many in total, like from the cult itself, have left from the
I
group?
definitely wouldn't know the number because it's a lot, but yeah,
Okay.
like hundreds of people have left. Every year there's people leaving for sure. But what's tough though is there's also what we call people on the fence a lot. There's a lot of people that talk to me and are like, they don't believe in the church at all, but they stay because then it's easier to, be with their family, to talk with their friends and not have to feel like excommunicated and stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of that happens as well. So it'd be really hard to define and know exactly how many left and not, but there's quite a few that leave for sure.
Asher says, is he talking about the FLDS? No. So they all branched off from the main group, and FLDS was one, and this is the Kingston group.
Mhm.
How many people in the Kingston group are still there? You said there was, did you say 12,000?
Yeah, somewhere between 10 and 12,000. It's hard to count it exactly because um they have so many babies, you know. There's lots of kids. I'm pretty sure well over 75% of the population though are like young kids. So it's
Oh.
crazy.
Carrie
But
just asked if the husbands ever get involved in the wife's conflicts.
I mean, yeah, there's actually one family. Oh my gosh, this was crazy. So there was this one girl that ended up leaving and was sharing her story, and it was so sad when she was talking about getting along with her sister wives because in her family in particular, I think her husband was definitely one of the kids of the top seven, right? What like the really high families,
Okay.
but I can't remember exactly which one he came from. But he like almost enjoyed causing drama and seeing them fight. So he
Oh,
would
that's nice.
oftentimes say things to the different wives to make them jealous or to point the blame to another wife so they would argue. And she shared this experience about how there was so much of this constant fighting and all this drama that was oftentimes caused by the husband, which was extra sad because the entire community, the whole support system of the entire church will not like ever put blame on the husband, you know, because he's the one above them all. He's the one that's kind of untouchable. And so if there's ever a problem, it's the wives that get in trouble. So he can kind of do whatever he wants,
Ah.
and the girls that get in trouble. So it was just really sad to see all the crap that she had to go through, and her own husband didn't even care, you know? It was really
Um,
sad.
who just, oh, that, I just read that one. What happened to the sisters that were helping people get out on the show?
Yeah, they're all still like they are very much trying to be involved. They're so like busy now though that it's really tough. Like if you know Andrea, Andrea's in Seattle, Washington, like getting I think she has it now, her whole law degree. Like she went to law school and everything. So she even I'm pretty sure she's married or engaged or something too. Like she's about to start a family. And then Jessica has two kids already and has a family. Still lives in Utah. So I like I've seen her a few times. And Chanel still lives here in Utah. She's got some kids now. So they're all just kind of growing up, living their lives, starting families, things like
Do they
that.
still
So.
help people get out?
Yeah, they're a little less involved because now, there's younger people. Like I feel like my sisters are helping a lot, and some of the
Yeah.
newer people that have recently left that can travel more and be a little more involved. But of course, they still try to help whenever they can. But they have kids and stuff that makes it a little bit hard. But they're extremely supportive for sure. So.
And Asher's asking, is Utah the only state that allows polygamy?
Utah doesn't allow it. It's funny because everyone's like, "Oh, Utah, like you can do whatever you want here," but
That's where they
really,
all are.
yeah, I mean, it's illegal here, but for some reason, no one enforces it. Like, there's no enforcement. There's no, like, no one does anything about it. I guess they're just so used to, there's been polygamists for so long now that
Yeah.
they just let it be, I
It's just
guess.
part of the culture or something there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You know what happened to Fred Kingston and his daughter?
Um, so if they're talking, so there's quite a few Fred Kingstons in the group, so I'm not sure exactly which one they're talking about, but
Popular
there,
last
there's
name.
There's one of them that's on escaping polygamy. There's a whole episode for Fred Kingston and his experience for one of the Fred Kingstons. If you're talking about the really old one, then I think that's the one you mean. And yeah, there's a whole episode explaining his story. But yeah.
Guys, you had some awesome questions. We are going to do this again on Sunday, correct, Eskel?
Yes, let's
So,
do it.
guys,
That'd be
if
awesome.
you're interested, we're going to chat again on Sunday. So, hit follow if you're interested. Make sure you click on Eskel's name as well and hit follow. He goes live. Is it every Sunday as well on your YouTube?
Yeah, for YouTube, it's always 5 o'clock Utah time for
Okay.
my YouTube live. So,
Okay. I'll
mhm.
have to check that one out too. But I'm gonna have to get off. I could talk about this forever, as you know, Eskel. I'm like yapping away,
Mhm.
but I have to work in the morning. And Eskel, I'm assuming you do as well. Probably have to get your
Mhm.
supper and stuff because you just get home from work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're interested, we are going to be chatting again on Sunday. And thank you to everybody that came in and had all the awesome questions and stuff.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate being able to
This
do
was
this.
fascinating. Thank you so much for agreeing to come chat. And I can't wait to talk to you on Sunday.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Can't wait.
Okay.